All right. Hello and welcome to United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. We're back once again online f- for our. Bleh, my tongue got ahead of my mouth there. Um, we're back again in time for our weekly presentation. This one is live, so always glad to hear it. We've been getting restocked, trying to get together some paperwork that we needed. Uh, but we're hoping to have a great season because coming April, that is right, the first Saturday in April, which is the 6th, we'll be back on site after a lovely winter break. So I want to remind everyone we do live stream these on Twitch and YouTube. So whichever one you like or you happen to be on, do hit those like and subscribe buttons. It helps us out greatly and also lets others better see that we are online trying to reach them. You can also check out our website, uacnj.org. It's where you're going to find a list of all our member clubs because that is right, we are a club made up of other astronomy clubs with the goal of trying to get people involved in this science. It'll also show you a list of our upcoming presentations that we have planned for the year. So that's always exciting. You can Speaking of events, we are going to be on site for the April eclipse, April 8th, which is Monday, the Monday after our first weekend back on site. We are holding an eclipse event at the observatory, and you can check out our website, our Facebook, or our Instagram for details on that. We hope to see you there if possible. And with that, you we're going to get into tonight's program, which is our What's Up in the March Sky with Lonny Buinis. Lonnie has been giving the What's Up series since UACNJ opened in 1994. He received degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in physics and computer science, then learned space art, animation, and video on his own. Lonnie is the only member of the IAAA.org who specializes in virtual reality worlds. He wrote the first interactive space history ebook and is most pleased to have married Jan, his narrator. And with that, here's Lonnie.
Thank you very much, Kim. These programs wouldn't be possible without all the volunteer help from people like Kim and Chris and Jeff and many others. And so when you come to visit, and I hope you will, we have donation bottles and nice museum and gift shop and lots of stuff to do and see. But tonight we're going to talk about part of a series, What's Up in the Sky for the current month. We do it every month for Saturday of the month. And this is, of course, March. And so I want to welcome anyone who hasn't been here before and also give a special hello to our friend Joe, who's just joined us doing these things recently. Hello, Joe. Some of the things that we see in the night sky at a nice convenient time, 2030 on your lower left on my screen. That's 20 minus 12. Our time is 8:30 at night. Most of us are still awake, right? 8:30 at night on March 14th, the middle of the month. If you look up in the south part of the sky, you would find two people holding hands. Sign of the zodiac, Gemini, the twins. You'd find a star cluster nearby. You'd see bright winter stars that we talked about in previous What's Up talks. You'd see a nebula or two or three. We'll point those out later. And so there's a lot of things to see, and especially on March 14th, which we're showing here, look close to the Seven Sisters star cluster, the Pleiades. Nice little grouping, looks like the Little Dipper. The moon will be right nearby in what we call a conjunction. So I'll be throwing out some specialized terms tonight. You can look them up and fact check me if I don't say what they mean. I like to keep things simple and jargon free because there's a lot of jargon in astronomy. This is not jargon. This is what we show you when you come to visit in person between April and October when it's not too cold at Jenny Jump at UAC and J observatories. And so we'll show you this and caution you to watch out when you leave and turn your headlights on and things like don't bump the astronomers' tripods because they spend a lot of time setting things up. If you want to see an astronomer cry, set their telescope out of alignment. A little bit of history this month, close to the middle of the month, March 18th, back in 1965, the cosmonaut, Soviet astronaut, Alexei Leonov became the first person to quote unquote walk in space. Can you walk in space? I'll give you a few moments to think about that. What did he actually do? He left his space capsule on an umbilical cord that connected him to the capsule and floated free beside his capsule, orbiting the Earth miles per second, about 90 minutes around for one revolution around the Earth. Very fast. It was very exciting. First time that was done. Later on, American astronomers did it too. A little bit of history again. March 2nd, today, and I like to find these events with onthisday.com. I will throw out some websites for you. Hope you're taking notes. Does anyone know what a pencil and paper is? Or ink? Old-fashioned. It's ways that people used to take notes back in the time of the dinosaurs. In 1972, on this day, Pioneer 10, the space probe Pioneer 10 was launched on its way to Jupiter and then to Saturn and beyond. First mission to the outer planets. On it was a plaque with an illustration and a message of two people from Earth, what their spacecraft looked like. This is not the actual record, if you know what a record is, on a record player, old-fashioned way of playing music. They actually put a special disc and instructions on how to make something that would play the disc for any aliens who might come across Pioneer 10. And then in 2004, on this day, the Rosetta space probe was launched on its way to the comet, mouthful, Churyumov-Gerasimenko, with a lander that landed on the comet. Very exciting. Lots of events. If you want to find events for the current month or the whole year or any year, I'd like to use go-astronomy.com. Easy to remember. And so we've got all these events, and I like to always start with the phases of the moon. All right, so we've got two phases of the moon every month. When one of them is great for seeing faint objects, and one is, as we say in science, absolutely horrible. Can you guess which? Well, one's on the 10th and one's on the 25th. The one on the 10th is great. The one on the 31st, not so, sorry, the 25th, not so good for seeing faint things in the sky. The moon's light blots everything out. This is a great calendar that you can get of lunar phases each month. So I picked March and I highlighted the main phases, the last quarter moon, when half the moon is lit up, and we call it a quarter. Does that make sense? Why do astronomers name things like this? Why is it so confusing? Well, think about the other side of the moon that we never see, because the moon rotates on its axis, just like the Earth. Earth 24 hours, the moon the same amount of time it takes to go around the Earth, 27 1/3 days. That's a locked rotation. And it turns out that all the major moons of the solar system do this with their parent planets. The moons of Jupiter all face Jupiter. The moons of Saturn, the big ones, face Saturn. And that's because of tidal forces slowing the rotation of the moon down over long periods of time. The moon used to spin faster. Now it doesn't. So we see half of a half lit up, and we call it a quarter, and that's in the morning sky. New moon, where would you find the new moon if you could see it? Can you see it? No. No, it's new. It's hidden because it's very close to the sun in the sky, and the light is on the other side from the sun. It's sun, moon, earth in that order. No eclipse, no solar eclipse like the one we're having next month. I'll be talking about that. Don't miss my talk, what's up in the April sky on April 8th. A rare event, a total eclipse of the sun. From New Jersey, it will still be partial, almost fully covered, right? In excess of 95%. But you will not see the beautiful effect of totality unless you go where the moon's shadow touches the earth, all the way from Texas on up to the Great Lakes through upstate New York. So new moon, the moon's not in the night sky, great time to see faint objects. First quarter moon, great time to see details on the moon, either last quarter or first quarter, because the light's coming in, raking angle, nice shadows. And if you don't want to get up early in the morning for the last quarter moon, go outside after sunset and you'll see the first quarter moon in the south, due south. And finally, full moon, 25th, horrible time to see faint objects, but we do have a special event, and that is an eclipse of the moon. If you want to see how moon phases work, I'm going to use a free program that you can download and install or use online or put on your mobile devices. And this is a program called Stellarium. It's kind of the planisphere, the circular map that we sell at our gift shop at UACNJ. Shameless ad, shameless ad. But we have a lot of cool things for sale there. And this is one of the most useful. It kind of looks like this, flat piece of paper that you can spin to show the sky any time of night, any day of the year. But in Stellarium, we can do more. We can zoom in, zoom out. We can change time. We can watch the phases of the moon change. Now, watch down here as I change the date. Well, let's leave the same time. Let's say we're observing the sky at 2011, which is what's our time, local? 20 minus 12, 8:11 p.m., almost 8:12, but on different nights, looking in the same direction. What would we see? We'd see the planet Jupiter setting in the west. We'd see the sky shift a little bit. It would be a little bit different each night if you looked at exactly the same time, 8:12. Over time, the moon would show up on the 12th of March. 12th of March, the moon is coming closer and closer to Jupiter, and a very nice grouping late on the 13th. The moon would seem to go through special constellations. Aries, the ram, Taurus, the bull, Gemini, the twins, Cancer, the crab, Leo, the lion. What is that? Well, I drew the line that the Earth's orbit would make if you put it out into space. And that is called the ecliptic, and the signs of the zodiac mark it. Our ancestors knew about where the sun and moon and planets could be found because the solar system is flat. They didn't know that. All they knew is that you'd find those objects moving through special constellations. So they called them the zodiac. And nowadays we have 13 signs of the zodiac, not 12, 13, because the Earth has wobbled a little bit since several thousand years ago when astrology got started. So you can watch the moon go through the constellations night after night. And as it does it would change its phase, as we saw in the chart. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can actually see the phase of the moon. Look in the west, early in the month. Well, the 12th is not so early, toward the middle of the month. And we'll see a nice crescent moon approaching Jupiter. The next night, passing Jupiter. Look at that, a conjunction. When the moon covers a planet or star, it's called an occultation. Lots of technical terms. There'll be a test later. I hope you're taking notes, right? I hear you vigorously typing out there, right? If you have questions, of course, Kim is monitoring the chat. Please feel free to put some comments in the chat and questions. So if I keep going night after night, the moon seems to move, and look, it's changing its phase. It's a thicker crescent. On the 15th, it's past the Pleiades and the face of Taurus, the bull. See the horns? See the face? Becoming thicker and thicker. And I have to keep up with the moon until it becomes a quarter phase. 17, 18. Through Gemini, through Cancer, and now a gibbous moon. And finally, toward the end of the month, 25th, it would be full, except we have a special event coming up. Just for you, we arranged an eclipse of the moon by what? What would eclipse the moon? Can we see it? Nope. Well, I'll tell you why we can't see it. We can't see it because it's going to be a partial eclipse. You can get full, we'll come to that in a second. You can get a lot of information about the moon on moongiant.com. I have no idea why the website is called Moon Giant, but there's a giant amount of information, including the calendar that we saw before. Did you know that the full moon has names every month, a different name? These are names used by the Boy Scouts from an old reference called Beard, or the author Beard, Wind Moon, Little Grass Moon, Sore Eye Moon, Sore Eye Moon. Maybe because the person who was observing got a little close to the telescope, somebody said, "Hey, how you doing?" Slapped him on the back, and his eye went right into the eyepiece. Ow, the Sore Eye Moon, except probably that name showed up before there were telescopes. I don't know. Farmer's Almanac calls it the worm moon. The worm moon. Go and find out. Ask, I've been using Copilot in Bing, the artificial intelligence, and it's actually pretty good for looking up references. I asked it, what's your favorite references? And it said, I'm an AI, I don't have favorites, but here's a whole bunch that I use. Crow moon, sap moon, crust moon, Lenten moon, wind moon. Those are other names. And if you go on Wikipedia, you can find these names every month for the full moon. We have, as I mentioned, an eclipse of the moon. This is called a penumbral eclipse. It's not as nice as an umbral eclipse. And let's figure out what that means. This happens the same time as the full moon on the 25th. Why? Why would it happen when the moon is full? Where is the moon going? As it moves around the Earth, in the daytime, it crosses close to the sun, usually misses, except on April 8th, coming up next month, comes around back, and then it hits something that darkens it away from the sun. Sun, Earth, moon, the Earth's shadow. The moon is going to enter the Earth's shadow partially. And here in New Jersey, on the map, we are close to halfway between when the moon is high and when the moon is setting. So we'll get a good view of the middle of the eclipse. And what would it look like? It won't look like this because the Earth's umbra, the inner dark shadow, and the penumbra, the outer shadow, are not sharp. All right, the sun is not a point source of light. It's a disk about a half degree across, same as the moon. That's why we have eclipses. Interesting coincidence, half a degree. The full sky is 360 degrees, so these are small angles. But because the sun is an extended source of light, it makes the shadows fuzzy, and the Earth has an atmosphere that bends light around, making things even fuzzier. So we have this fuzzy outer shadow, and that's where the moon is going to pass over the course of several hours. The greatest eclipse, when the moon is almost fully in the penumbra, happens at about 7 o'clock Universal time. That's London time. We are 5 hours earlier, so 7 minus 5 in the morning is what? I hear the mathematicians in the audience typing furiously. I have a friend of mine always complained that when people say do the math, it's usually not math, it's just arithmetic. It's not calculus. You don't need calculus to figure out Eastern Standard Time. 7 minus 5 is 2 a.m. 2 a.m. greatest eclipse. Can't stay up that late. Okay, look a little bit earlier, see if you can see a slight darkening. This is a real challenge. This is kind of disappointing compared to when the moon goes into the deep part of the shadow and turns a beautiful reddish color sometimes. But might be worth a try. Penumbral eclipse, March 25th. We also have another big event, the spring or vernal equinox. Vernal means spring, like verde, green. Who was Giuseppe Verdi, the opera writer, opera music? Translated from Italian, Giuseppe, Joe, Verde, green, Joe Green, good old Joe Green. So vernal, spring, equinox, what does that mean? Equa, equal nox night. So equal days, equal nights when the sun crosses the Earth's equator. And now, if we draw that, which we can do in stellarium, you saw the ecliptic before, the orbit of the Earth around the sun, going through my sign, Capricornus, the sea goat. So if you call me an old goat, you'd be accurate. Capricornus, Aquarius, Pisces, fishes, Aquarius, water carrier. The sun is in Pisces, not quite 12 noon on March 20th. 13 hours, that's 1:06. 1:06 in the afternoon, almost 1:07. Local time here in New Jersey, the sun crosses the meridian, the north-south line, due south, and it crosses the equator. Days and nights are equal, same length of time. The higher the sun goes towards summer, the longer the days are in New Jersey. In the winter, down below, shorter days, right? Make sense? So these are all lines you don't see in the real sky, right? Ecliptic, equator, and the outlines of the constellations. But we can do that later. In fact, we can do that in just a little bit. Let's look for one last big event. This month, on the 24th, if you want to see the innermost major planet of how many major planets are there? Used to be 9. My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas, but now it's 8. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Mercury, innermost planets, not easy to find. It's always close to the sun, but there are times when it elongates away in an angle, 18 degrees on the 24th. So let's see if we could find that using this free program, Stellarium, that we used before. This time I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to look in the west. When I face south, looking for the ecliptic, would you see the ecliptic in the real sky? Nope. So we could turn that off. Would you see the cardinal points, the direction marks in the real sky? No, but I'm not going to turn those off. I'm going to look in the west and I'm going to back up in time. I'm going to go backwards in time to about 19 minus 12 is 7:20, 7:30, 8:30. Oh yeah, look at that. 8:11 at night, which is not too distant from, right now it's about 8:23, 24. So Mercury is very low in the sky. Look at that. Not too far from the planet Jupiter. When I say not too far, are they close to each other when they pass like this? No, no. Mercury, distance from sun, distance from Earth, 0.87 astronomical units. So what's an AU, astronomical unit? It's like a standard yardstick that astronomers use. It's the distance from the Earth to the sun on average, because the Earth doesn't go around the sun in a circle. It's slightly wobbly circle, slightly bent, an ellipse. So Mercury is pretty close to us, less than 1 AU. Jupiter is pretty far, right there, 5.7 astronomical units. It takes light 8 1/3 minutes for each AU. So 6 times 8, 48 minutes. We're looking at Jupiter as it looked in the past, 48 minutes ago. We're seeing Mercury as it was in the past, something like 6, 7 minutes ago. And if we were to zoom in, Stellarium, I can center an object and zoom in with my mouse. We would see a phase in a small telescope, possibly also giant binoculars or high-powered binoculars. And what phase is that? Now, if I stop tracking the planet, this is what happens in a telescope. It's going to move. Why is it moving out of help? Come back. So I put it in the middle of my eyepiece. It's going to move out at some point. Why? What's moving? Well, it's the whole sky. Whole sky is moving. The Earth is rotating leftward this way. There's something going around the Earth very fast. It's one of many tens of thousands of Starlink satellites. You can see those from Jenny Jump pretty well, too. There's satellites all over the place. Well, what is this, a convention? So Mercury has a phase just like the moon. What about Jupiter? Well, Jupiter doesn't have a phase. It's farther from the sun than us. And because it's so far compared to the Earth's orbit, no matter where the Earth is, Jupiter always looks pretty much lit up all the way as a little disk in a small telescope. And that's how you'll see it if you bring your own telescope to UACNJ when we have our live sessions each from April to October, about 8 o'clock on. Well, after the talks, when the talks are done, 9 o'clock on, you can use your own telescope. We can help you set it up if you're having trouble or learn more about it. You can look through our telescopes, some of which are pretty big, so you get a little bit more detail with all the clouds and storms on Jupiter. And if you were to look at Jupiter, whoa, let's track Jupiter. And let's look at Jupiter about now. What time is it? It's 8:27. Well, the moons haven't changed that much. Galileo used to watch them in his little telescope, shuttle back and forth and back and forth, going around the planet behind and in front, causing shadows. But if you were to look at Jupiter now in the clear sky, you would see all four of the big moons discovered by Galileo over 400 years ago. Jupiter has just got so much detail on it with storms the size of the planet Earth. Very exciting. A gas giant made mostly of gases. Much bigger than the Earth, about 11 Earths across. But look how far I have to zoom out. I have to use a lot of magnification to see planets, to see details. And look at that. Mercury is already set by now. So why don't we start here? Well, why don't we start in the north just to get our bearings? For those who have not come here before to see my talks, you can find the Big Dipper, the Big Bear, which the Big Dipper is part of, the dragon, the small bear, the king, the queen, Cassiopeia, Cepheus, queen and king, Draco, dragon. You can use different cultural images and outlines in Stellarium. You can pick different kinds of cultures, Native American, Inuit, European, ancient, Mayan. It's a lot of fun playing with this. There's so much you can do that we don't have time to try it all. That's a good way to get your bearings by learning the constellations, these 5 in the northern sky. And then you can use a technique we amateur astronomers have given the fancy name, very hard to remember, star hopping, hopping from one star group to another to find other things. I'm looking over towards the west where the stars of winter are disappearing. The bull and the hunter, Taurus, Orion. We talked about these before. We mentioned the little constellation Lepus, which is leaping. How many hints? How many hints do you need? Well, let's see. Right behind me, got my rabbit friend from Monty Python's Spamalot, and also from a Monty Python movie. Do you recognize it? With the nasty, vicious teeth. That's Lepus the hare. Lepus the hare. I guess Orion might be hunting him. But if we were to look, instead of going to the right along Orion's belt stars, as we did in the winter, if we were to look to the left, we would see the bright star Sirius, dog star, setting or low in the south. And new stars coming up high in the sky, Gemini, the twins. See if you can see the difference in color in the real sky. Very difficult here in Stellarium. They don't represent the colors well, but your eye in the real sky can tell a temperature difference between these stars. Castor is a hot star, much hotter than the sun. Pollux has this has a bluish kind of cast to it, yellowish color, the way our sun would look from space for Pollux. And other ways of calling these stars are by their brightness. Alpha is the brightest star in Gemini, Alpha Gemini. Beta, second brightest. These are not necessarily in the correct order, There are many alpha stars that are not bright at all. That's the way our ancestors described things and named things. Next to them, the crab. Looks just like a crab, right? What are these? Those crab legs? Yeah, I don't know if I would draw it that way. And to the left, the main sign of spring coming up very soon. When that first day of spring hits, think of the mane in the lion, the main sign of spring, the lion with its Regulus Alpha Leonis, Leo the lion. This is one constellation whose abbreviation, always 3 letters, is the exact same as its real name. Alpha Leonis is the brightest star Alpha in Leo, sign of the zodiac. Oh, yeah, this is a real challenge. Corvus and Crater. Crater is cup. Crater the cup. Look very high in the sky. Whoa, easy to get disoriented. And to the right of Gemini, Auriga the chariot rider, Perseus the hero. We mentioned these in previous What's Up talks. But what I'm going to focus on, coming up very soon in the spring sky, will be when this area is higher next month. If we were to move, let's jump forward to April 25th. Watch what happens. Look at how bright the sky is at 8:30. We'd have to jump forward to about 9:30. Let's make it about 9:30. Here you go. See that? Things jumped back 1 month. Next month, same time, looking in the same direction. So you go out, look for the letter S, right? And you have to find out where south is. It's opposite of north, but you know how to find north now, right? The Little Dipper, the little bear with the star on the end, the North Star. Look the other way, and you'll find the lion. And in the real sky, things don't look like you see on a star chart. The constellations look huge to the eye. They take up a big angle, bigger in real life. And the stars are tiny points, not disks. Check out the real sky. It's a lot more exciting than using star maps, even computer maps. So let's review in a kind of a strategy. What you might want to do when you go out is get oriented to where north is and find the North Star. In most places in New Jersey where the light is not, where there's more street light, right? Light pollution, we call it. You'll see 3 stars in this area, the North Star and the 2 stars in the end of the bowl of the Little Dipper. It's going to be hard to see the whole thing, but be patient, keep trying. Use the Big Dipper, which has brighter stars, which is high this time of night at 9:30. I'm going to go back for the younger members of the audience to late March. And I'm going to look for the Big Dipper high in the sky and follow the 2 pointer stars, Merak and Dubhe. 5 times their distance apart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll pass right by the North Star. You know where north is. If you turn around, you'll be facing south. But on the way, as you're turning, stop by west. Look for Mercury and Jupiter. Look for the winter signs like Orion. And keep going and concentrate on the stars of early spring coming up. High in the sky, Gemini, Cancer the crab, Leo the lion. In this area, we can still see a little hint of the Milky Way, a faint band of light. If you're in a very dark skies, like later on at night, it becomes a little bit easier. Or if you're in very, very dark skies, I can actually turn off the skylight. Now you see it? That's what you get on a really dark night at UACNG, which I also call Jenny Jump Forest, State Forest. And it is a protected state forest, and that's why we have such nice viewing there. No lights are allowed to be put up in the state forest. If you look in this part of the sky, you'll see some beautiful nebulae. There are other things to see besides stars. There's double stars, star groupings. There's a famous nebula hanging from the belt of Orion next to his sword. You can see it even in a small pair of binoculars. And that's the Great Nebula of Orion, M42 in Messier's catalog of objects, glowing with the light of hydrogen gas, reddish, and reflecting starlight, young stars, blue hot stars, like we saw Castor and Pollux before. Castor is a blue star. There are these young bluish stars that don't live as long as the sun. Would you see this in a telescope? No, not exactly. The human eye isn't sensitive to color at low light levels, so things tend to look like one shade, grayish or greenish. But it's fun to find. And up in the belt of Orion, next to the star Alnitak, there's a famous animal. Some of you might have ridden on its back. It's a absorption nebula, dark dust absorbing the hydrogen gas light behind it. And someday this cloud may collapse to form a solar system like ours. We've actually been able to see solar systems forming now. We can see planets forming from disks of gas and dust around stars. It's an amazing time to be alive. Back when I was young, in the time of pterosaurs and Tyrannosaurus rex, we didn't know what asteroids looked like or moons. We had no idea how many planets were out there in the galaxy. We thought there were 100 billion stars in our galaxy. Now we know that there are 1,000 billion stars. Sorry, yeah, 1,000 billion, a trillion stars. Most of them are single red stars, dwarf stars. So there are nebulae, gas clouds, nebulae, nebulas. Take your pick, the plural, either plural is correct, nebulae, nebulas. There's a beautiful nebula in Monoceros, the unicorn. Looks just like a unicorn, right? There it is. No? No, I hear objections from the audience. Your Honor, I object. Yeah, I don't know. How'd they get a unicorn out of this? Well, how did they get this nebula named for a flower? By any other name, it would smell as sweet, according to William Shakespeare. You can find other nebulae. You can search for them, actually, in Stellarium. You can search for objects like this. I could say, find me M42, and it will center it. And then you can just zoom in. So that's just some of the things that we can see in the night sky. I'm going to end with not only the winter stars, but looking south for the Crab, which has in it a beautiful cluster of stars. Star cluster. Many stars are grouped together. They were born together and they travel through space around and around in the Milky Way as it spins once every 225 million years. They pretty much hold together with gravity. That's called a star cluster. There are many to see. I challenge you to find them. And I'm going to end with Leo the Lion. Leo the Lion, which I'll talk about a little bit more with the stars of April. But I do want to leave time for questions. So let's conclude with some references and some ways of getting started in astronomy. Giant binoculars are about half the price of what they used to be years ago when I bought one for over $200. Standard binoculars like 7x50s are good if you're young because you take the second number and divide it by the first. 50 millimeter lens diameter divided by 7 power gives you a cone of light at your eye called the exit pupil of 7 millimeters. My eye, since I'm older, opens only to 5 millimeters, as is true for most of us old folks. So you might want to get something with a smaller exit pupil. 80 divided by 20 is 4 millimeters. I have one that's 3. This one is 70 divided by 25. Quick, anyone in the audience? What's 70 divided by 20? Oh my, it's very difficult. Is it 3? Is it 4? No, 3. Close. Right, so that's a better idea. And what happens? What happens? You spend all that money on binoculars and you're bored with astronomy. You don't want to look at the sky anymore. Oh no, now what do? You pick up another hobby, right? Binoculars can be used for other things. They give you a not an inverted view like most lenses, right? Simple lenses will invert the view. That's what regular telescopes do, refracting telescopes with a lens, not reflecting with a mirror. They turn the image upside down, but binoculars are corrected for that. So if you get bored with bird watching, you can always spy on your neighbors. I don't recommend it. Beginning telescopes, relatively inexpensive now. I'm really surprised that the prices have come down. Like Celestron's first scope, which we used to sell in our gift shop. I think we might still have one, about $75. And then there's accessories you can add on to that. There are other telescopes. These have simple mounts, up, down, left, right. So if you put it on an object, it will tend to move out because the Earth is turning, right? And the sky seems to move very slowly. That's so you don't have what's called a clock drive to follow the sky. But it's a good way to get started. And if you want more light power for a little more money, Dobsonians are a great design named after Dobson, who invented it, a way of saving money and getting a lot more light so you can see fainter objects like star clusters and nebulae, or nebulas, or nebulae, or ketchup, or ketchup, 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 nebula, nebulae. Take your pick. So Celestron, Meade, those are some big makers. There are a lot of telescope makers. Do your research. Don't just pick the first thing. And then there are more complex instruments like the ones we have at UACNJ, like catadioptric design, Cassegrain. This is a Cassegrain design. Light comes in through a correcting lens, hits a mirror, gets bounced back to another mirror, a small one over here, gets bounced down through another hole in the mirror, then bounced with a prism through another eyepiece. Holy moly, there's a lot going on here. But that means that the light path is folded. It's 1, 2, 3. You stretch that out. That's a long focal length. It gives you a lot of magnification. And these used to be over $2,000 when I was growing up, a long time ago, in the time of the Jurassic movies. And the Dimetrodons were sailing around there in the swamp. Yeah, this 8-inch telescope, less than 2,000. It's amazing. Prices are fairly reasonable, but there are things you can do for absolutely nothing, for free, and that's the naked eye. And I'm going to give you some references so you can get started with your naked eye. UACNIDGE, repeat after me. UACNIDGE. UACNIDGE, United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey, is an umbrella organization of many different clubs, some in Pennsylvania and New York, most in New Jersey. They do liaison with planetariums, museums. A lot of people are in multiple clubs. You'll meet a lot of these experts when you come visit, and they're there to give their time to you to help you learn about the sky. Sky and Telescope and Astronomy are paper magazines, beautifully produced, full color, been out for decades, and you can still read print. You can go online to their websites. You can subscribe and get everything. But even the free part of the websites are extensive, huge amounts of information. And if you forget everything I've told you tonight, space.com is easy to remember. They have everything, all kinds of news. There is advertisement, but heck, there's always advertisements everywhere. And if you're looking for apps, there's like several dozen that let you hold your mobile device, your incredibly heavy, gigantic mobile device up to the sky, and it will show you what you're looking at, day or night. It will actually point using the GPS capabilities built into your smartphone or tablet to show you the sky. There are dozens there. Check out space.com best stargazing apps. Lots of information out there. Here's a few out of the 36 that I found with reviews at space.com. Night Sky, Stellarium, I mentioned before. There is one called Celestia, in addition to Stellarium, which is like having a planetarium on the Earth. Celestia lets you fly into space. Stellarium, I mentioned before, you can download it, install it. You can run it off their supercomputers at Stellarium-Web, or you can put it on a mobile device. Free, absolutely free. It's all free. It's all open source, so you programmers can contribute to the code, to the source code. Celestia is exciting, lets you fly to, let's say you want to see the rings of Saturn opened up. There's only two places you can do that in the solar system, two big places where there's a lot of land, right? One of them is the moon Iapetus, which orbits Saturn at a big tilt every 80 days, about 79 days. So Saturn's rings do this: up, down, disappear when they're edge on. The other place where you see them edge on in a telescope, Earth. That was a trick question. So review early in the month. Great time to see faint objects, nebulas, star clusters, right? Double stars, planets, the moon. You can see that anytime, full moon, doesn't matter. Late in the month when we have an eclipse. Mercury, 18 degrees away from the sun. It's maximum, and it's at the night sky. Elongation east is left of west, left of the sun, nighttime. Great time to see it. If you don't want to get up next month at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning to see Mercury on the 24th. And don't forget the spring equinox, equal days and nights on the 20th. New moon, equinox, Mercury, lots of stuff to see. Let me know next month if you manage to see the moon eclipsed in the penumbra. And you can reach me here, my email. My website, Astronomy in Motion, has a lot of free stuff. You can play with virtual reality planets in 3D with your fingers or pointing device, joystick, mouse. Mars at Your Fingertips is for sale, but there's a free HD version if you're not buying the 4K version with all of the videos, free videos that come with it. Lots of fun, all narrated by my wife, who I have not paid. Shameless. And with that, I will apologize for not paying my wife and say thank you for being such a great audience. Here's where you can find us, and I'm going to turn you back to our great host, Kim.
All right. Thank you, Lonnie, for another great talk. Uh, we are going to actually have a question and answer session now because I did see a number of different questions in chat. The first of which is, let's see, Ariana heard there was supposed to be a comet strolling by soon. Is that supposed to be
Oh,
this
yeah.
month or the next month?
You know, I'd heard about that. I really forget exactly when it's supposed to show up, but I think they said it might be bright enough to see by naked eye. That's always a tough one unless it's a great comet. By great, I mean technical term. Great comet is extremely bright. So I don't know. I'd have to look that up again. I think it's soon though, or with sometime this year. Might be later this year. In fact, I seem to remember late in the year, but I could be wrong. So check your facts. Fact check.
So I had remembered watching a short of this on like a NASA short of this, and I'm like, hold on, I can Google that. So
Sure.
I believe the one they're talking about is the 12P Pons Brooks comet. Um, According to this, the perihelion is April 21st,
Oh,
2024, with a magnitude of 4.2, and its closest approach to Earth is June 2nd, 2024, with a magnitude of 6.3.
hmm. So it'll be difficult to see, but not impossible. And if you know where to look binoculars, that would be great. So I'll tell you what, I promise to make it up to you. I will talk about that in What's Up in April, Sky.
Yeah, and as far as the visibility forecast, they're saying it should be one of the brightest ones of the year, and in April it might become visible to the naked eye in a dark sky. So if you're in New York City, you're probably going to have some problems. If you're in a much nicer dark sky site than that, you might have better luck. So
Yeah,
do
you
keep
heard
that
Kim
in mind.
mention magnitudes fourth and sixth. The numbers, the higher they go, the fainter the object. So the human eye, about fifth or sixth magnitude. Six, you really have to be in super dark skies, more like five. So four could be visible to the eye. Don't forget, it's an extended object, not a star. The light's not concentrated into a little point, it's spread out, so it's harder to see.
But they're saying it should be visible with small binoculars. So
Good.
that's good to know. Like I said, I had heard about that and did a quick Google search. So uh, always do fact check because the internet is great for looking things up, but you should always double check and make sure your information's coming from reputable sources. Right. So our next question. Actually, I see a comment you'll appreciate. One of our viewers, Uncle Bill, had confirmed he's a dinosaur because you said the pencil and paper is how notes were kept in the time of the dinosaurs. So he
Mhm.
guess he's a. I'm going to do my best guess at how to pronounce this. Graphiticus scribius.
Oh,
Scribius?
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Bill.
All right. Our next online question, also from Ariana. Are you guys going to have solar glasses available for your Eclipse event? And in
I know
fact,
that.
we are.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
UACNJ is always prepared.
yeah,
Right.
we will.
I bought them in bulk last year. So where we're going up to the Eclipse track through New York State in Syracuse and Watertown, I will be passing out glasses
Yeah, he's just passing out glasses.
or
Unfor-
passing out.
Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we are selling them through the sales desk, and all proceeds of that do, of course, go to helping keep our programs alive and free to the public. Uh, that reminds me, you had said that you were giving the April What's Up talk, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he was traveling for the eclipse.
Right. I won't be here for April, but I will be doing all the other What's Up in the Sky monthly talks at the first Saturday of each month, except for April 6th. So sorry to miss all of you. I will miss you, but I'll be busy being in a darkened sky during the eclipse.
That's okay, we already loaded up your stunt double.
Great.
The high impact sports stunt double. All right. So our next question is how are things on the East Coast? And as people have stated in chat, it's currently very rainy here and overcast. And Jan had made a point to say it's a great day for to be a duck.
Yeah. Yep. I actually took the dog for a walk in the rain earlier today. The prospect, the further east you go for the eclipse April 8th, is not as good as going out west, Texas. It's a giant arc going up from Texas into New York. So you're better off going further west, but we're going to chance it and go up to upstate New York.
All right. If there are any more online questions, I do suggest you get those in. Just because I know by the time you guys hear it, a couple minutes will have passed because stream delay is a thing. Let's see, our next comment. Someone did recognize the rabbit as a as the Caerbannog, or however you spell and or pronounce that.
Very good.
I hope I
Oh,
pronounced that
someone mentioned
correctly.
someone just in passing, I forgot to mention that they're expecting one of the stars in the crown next to Hercules, Corona Borealis. They're expecting it to go nova, which it does every 80 years or so. They're expecting that to happen very soon.
Why would that go nova multiple times? I thought generally
It's a
going nova was a one and done sort of thing.
Well, supernovas, yeah, that destroys the star. But this is a double star with a big red giant and a smaller white dwarf, and it's an elliptical orbit. So when the two get very close, the white dwarf draws material out from the red star, which collapses onto the white dwarf surface and creates a burst of energy. So it recurs.
Today I learned.
Yeah, look out. If you were the red, you wouldn't want to be the red giant.
I wouldn't wanna be anything within, their local astronomical radius, because
Hmm.
that sounds a little bit too, uh, energetically charged of an atmosphere.
In this slide, of course, you don't need to use your headlights, but this was this is designed for when you're visiting in person. Unless
Yeah.
people have their headlights on now, you might want to turn them off.
I mean, if you're driving, I hope you're just listening if you're driving, uh, and it happens to be dark, do use your headlights. Headlight use when appropriate is always a good idea. But especially when you're on site, just because we don't like getting run over, you don't like getting run over. There's a lot of paperwork involved in getting run over or running someone over, and it's generally just better to avoid it.
I agree.
All right. So just to give everyone a couple last minutes to see if there's any questions. Like I said, do check us out on our website, uacnj.org. You're going to find information on our upcoming eclipse event, on our programs that are starting back up on site for starting April 6th, our eclipse event on April 8th, and so on and so forth, as well as a list of our member clubs and all the science and whatnot that is happening on site. Uh, in addition, you can check out our social media, our Facebook, our Instagram, our Discord channel are all great places to ask questions, post your astronomy pictures. We always love to see them. Um, if you have telescope setups and you have questions, do ask them. We'll try and help you when and where we can, or get you the resource that should be able to help you with that. And it looks like so far that is it. Like I said, hit those like and subscribe buttons as we live stream this on Twitch and YouTube. And if you happen to come in the middle of the presentation, check out the rerun on our YouTube channel, because that is, you ever miss something, go ask questions on those past broadcasts. We'd love to see them. And with that, everyone have a good night.